Jean-Claude Van Damme's weekly cocaine consumption was $10,000. His presence on set required the hiring of handlers by the directors. For days at a time, he would vanish, missing entire shoots and then reappearing delusional. He had a 100 million career before the drugs got to him. However, he had a much darker secret. After a failed suicide attempt in 1998, he was diagnosed with bipolar disorder with fast cycles. Following his sobriety, he believed his problems had finally subsided. Then in April 2025, he was struck with suspicions of trafficking by Romanian authorities, which could spell the end of his story. A little neighborhood in Brussels known as Berm Sant Agat is where Jean-Claude Van Damme came into this world on October 18, 1960. The entire name of this individual was Jean-Claude Camille François van Varenberg. The father, Jean, had a dual career as a florist and an accountant. His father was French, while his mother, Liliana, was Flemish and spoke Dutch. The fact that their household was multilingual served Jean-Claude well when he rose to international fame. Growing up in a peaceful working-class area, he and his sister Veronique were close. Discipline and perseverance were instilled in him by his parents from an early age. Dad thought Jean-Claude ought to start martial arts training after he'd seen how scrawny and timid the youngster was. Jean-Claude had a hard time at school when he was a little boy. His petite, delicate form was accentuated by big spectacles. The kids teased him relentlessly and insulted him constantly. Sports weren't his thing. Comic novels and peaceful pastimes were his preferences. Growing up, he reflected, was incredibly challenging, and he lacked physical strength. His dad knew something had to give. Jean-Claude began lifting weights at the age of 11. He wished he could change his physical form so that no one could control him anymore. He would never be the same after making that choice. He would go to the gym as an escape. With the resolve to never again feel powerless, he trained relentlessly. He started karate lessons at the Center National Deer and Excels when he was 12 years old, thanks to his dad. Named Claude Gitz, the coach was a stern man. Between the years 1972 and 1976, Jean-Claude trained continuously. I hated my classes. Despite suffering multiple nose breaks during sparring, he persisted. He became extremely flexible, disciplined, and skilled with precise kicks. He made it onto Belgium's national karate squad by the time he was 16 years old in 1976. This was an incredible feat for a young man who had endured bullying due to his perceived lack of strength. Concurrently, an unexpected event occurred. Under the radar, Jean-Claude enrolled in ballet classes. Between the ages of 16 and 21, he also performed ballet 5 days a week in addition to his karate training. He had faith it would improve his poise, stability, and control of his body. He went on to say that after training in martial arts, ballet was the most taxing discipline he had ever encountered. He kept it a secret from his karate buddies since he anticipated their mockery. However, the reality is that ballet really complemented his kicks. He was able to pull off the splits that would become legendary because of it. Jean-Claude competed in his first karate match in 1975, at the age of 15. From 1976 to 1980, he competed in semi-contact matches, where he went 44-4. His opponent delivered a powerful roundhouse kick to him during one of his early bouts in Brussels. Despite coming close to losing, Jean-Claude managed to knock out his opponent in a matter of seconds. He proved his mettle in that instant. He was an integral part of the Belgian karate team's 1979 European Championship winning performance in Brussels. And then, on March 8, 1980, he achieved his greatest winning until that point. Patrick Tugels, a man he had already defeated twice, was his opponent this time. Despite breaking his own hand in the struggle, Jean-Claude persisted. Tugels was unable to continue after being kicked in the nose by him. Antoine prevailed through technical knockout. He had to take a month off from fighting after his hand required surgery. His champion's heart was on full display in that match, though. Jean-Claude won the middleweight championship of the European Professional Karate Association in 1979, when he was only 19 years old. Out of his 19 full-contact bouts, 18 were knockout victories. While some cast doubt on the records, suggesting that weaker opponents may have been included to inflate the numbers, the consensus was that he possessed exceptional fighting skills. He launched his first fitness center, California Gym, in Brussels when he was just 20 years old. Its location was adjacent to a cemetery. Despite his high expectations, the gym was hardly profitable, leaving him with neither cash nor a place to exercise. He spun a web of employment in order to make ends meet. He was a muscular magazine model, pizza delivery guy, and carpet installer. He would frequently forego paying rent by sleeping at the gym. He occasionally even stole food and subsisted on restaurant leftovers. For nearly 2 years, this continued. He dreamed of going to America and saved every penny he could. He arrived in Los Angeles in 1982, when he was 21 years old. Reports indicate that he traveled with a meager $50. According to some, the amount was $2,000 or $5,000. No matter how high the number was, he was completely alone, had never been on stage before, and spoke no English. Near Venice Beach, he made his home in his automobile. His odd jobs included cleaning apartments, serving tables, and delivering pizzas, and he showered in public restrooms. While working as a limo driver, he crossed paths with Chuck Norris, who offered him an opportunity to perform stunts. He made his film debut in 1984's Break-In, where he danced around in the background for a bit. Not even credit was given for it. He was a bouncer for Chuck Norris's pub around this time. To keep himself alive, he would occasionally eat out of trash cans as he was utterly broke. He persisted in his daily training and continued to audition. Sparring partner for Chuck Norris catapulted him to stardom. No Retreat, No Surrender, released in 1986, featured him in a minor villainous part. His salary for portraying a vicious Russian fighter was a meager $250. Despite the director's repeated warnings, he continued to physically assault his co-stars during filming. But every combat scene featured Van Damme's passionate and solemn performance. He also made his most daring move to that point that year. He noticed producer Manam Gulen dining at the restaurant where he was employed. Even though she was holding a bowl of soup, Van Damme executed a flawless roundhouse kick. After seeing him perform, Gulen asked him to an audition. Cannon Films was Van Damme's all-day hangout. After Gulen eventually summoned him, Jean-Claude removed his shirt and performed a series of high kicks over the heads of the producers. The news shocked Gulen. He tossed him a script for Bloodsport and told him, "Next week in Hong Kong." The film was shot on a shoestring budget of between $1.5 to $2.3 million. When Van Damme performed his acrobatics, he did not use any protective gear. He did each kick by himself and did the splits on kitchen counters. Even though the battles were risky, Van Damme was unconcerned. He managed to persuade Gulen to allow him reshoot the battle scenes, saving the film from a postponement and the imminent release to video. For weeks he labored without rest. Surprisingly, Bloodsport made $50 million globally upon its 1988 release. However, there were some setbacks. The 1987 Predator audition was a living nightmare for him. The alien suit, which he was hired to wear, had a price tag of $20,000. It was something he despised, really. He fainted twice due to the suffocating sensation of the outfit. If that occurred again, the producer threatened to terminate him. Without warning, Van Damme lost his temper. He tore off the pricey crown and shattered it. Screaming, the producers booted him off the set. Kevin Peter Hall, an actor who stands at 7 feet tall, was brought in to replace him. Kickboxer catapulted Jean-Claude Van Damme to international fame in 1989. Even though it only cost $2.7 million to film, it made $50 million when it came out on September 8th. With 973 screens showing it, and $4.1 million made in its opening weekend, it ranked third in the US. Filming took place in Thailand, where Van Damme honed his Muay Thai skills among native practitioners. It introduced the globe to Thai kickboxing in a Hollywood film for the first time. The scene where Van Damme dances wildly in a pub in Bangkok is the most memorable. In the midst of his untamed dancing to the music, he breaks into a violent altercation. His career was mostly defined by that peculiar blend of comedy and violence. Both he and Muay Thai became household names as a result. Cyborg was also released that year. It just took 23 days to shoot and cost less than $500,000. The He-Man and Spider-Man films that Cannon Films canceled were financially unsuccessful. Because of this, director Albert Pyun came up with a fresh plot in a single weekend to utilize the remaining sets and costumes. Gibson Rickenbacker and Marshall Stratt are just a few of the guitars whose names were borrowed for the film. During the shoot, a terrible incident occurred. Actor Jackson Rock Pinkney was struck in the eye by Van Damme's pretend knife. The studio was hit with a lawsuit fee of $485,000 due to the injury. In spite of all the mayhem and negative reviews, the film managed to earn over $10 million and launch a new cyberpunk franchise. In 1990, Lionheart featured a more vulnerable Van Damme. He portrayed Lion Gautier, a French Foreign Legion soldier who betrays his family by participating in underground fighting in Los Angeles after his brother dies. Fights were rough and bloody and unregulated. Among Van Damme's injuries sustained on set was a dislocated shoulder. The film went by different titles in different countries: AWOL in the UK and Wrong Bed in Australia. On August 1st, 1990, it premiered in France, and on January 11th, 1991, it made it to theaters in the United States. His acting chops, not just his fighting ones, were on display in this film. Death Warrant, in which he portrayed a police officer working undercover in a prison, was released later that year. On a budget of $6 million, it grossed $46 million. Because Van Damme insisted on including his signature spinning kicks in every fight scene, work became stalled. Unlike other police officers, he preferred not to fight. Among the most fascinating elements is the fact that the prison interiors were shot in the Los Angeles Ambassador Hotel's basement. Even after filming had wrapped on Pretty Woman, he aided with post-production editing to tighten up the fight scenes. Shot in a single day within a massive Los Angeles power plant, the last confrontation with a terrifying killer known as Sandman took place. The role of twin brothers was his on 1991's Double Impact. The 110-minute film had its release on July 31st. Van Damme had to pull double duty as the brother, playing both the placid and amiable sibling and the stern and furious one. To achieve this convincing illusion, they employed split-screen techniques and brought in actual twin stand-ins. The use of optical effects and precise camera timing was essential, because this was before computer-generated imagery. It was a seminal film that established his versatility beyond fighting. It turns out he could pull off complicated roles. By 1992, Van Damme's Universal Soldier had become a smashing success. The film's $23 million budget yielded $12 million in worldwide earnings. However, tensions were building behind the scenes. He insisted on having his wife, the bodybuilder Gladys Portuguese, accompany him on set, and even demanded a nice trailer. Due to the need to transport her by plane to each filming site, this created significant setbacks. According to Dolph Lundgren, who co-starred with him, Van Damme had grown conceited and difficult. Their feud reached a boiling point in 1992 at Cannes, when they came dangerously close to an onstage altercation. Opinions vary as to whether it was staged or not. Regardless, Van Damme became a genuine A-list star because to the popularity of the film. He collaborated in Hard Target with the renowned Hong Kong filmmaker John Woo in 1993. Filmed in the marshes of Louisiana, Van Damme was adamant about performing all of his own stunts, including a horse kick that nearly broke his leg. Because of their concerns over Woo's direction, Universal sent in Sam Raimi to oversee the production. Although it took 65 days to complete, Woo expressed his astonishment at Van Damme's courage in tackling the daring moments. With $101.6 million earnings on a $28 million budget, Timecop became Van Damme's most successful film to date in 1994. He portrayed a time-traveling police officer. He inserted additional scenes inside the script to showcase his split skills. He jumped into a split to prevent electrocution in the kitchen scene, and it became famous. He was also rather proud of his physique, so he actively sought out settings that showcased it. For the part, he received $3 million. Later that year, while filming Street Fighter, things spiraled out of control, despite positive reviews from critics who praised the action and time travel. His weekly cocaine consumption was $10,000. After Van Damme showed up high, director Steven Douza claimed he would vanish for hours. He was so difficult to follow that they had to employ a wrangler. Moreover, while filming in Thailand, he was having an affair with Kylie Minogue. Until he came clean about it in 2012, his pregnant wife Darcy Lapierre had no idea. Separate hotels and private planes were also on his list of demands. In spite of everything, he managed to put on a respectable show. His greatest salary to date was $5 million for Unexpected Death in 1995. In his Stanley Cup Finals hockey role, he saved lives as a fire marshal. Luc Robitaille and other NHL players were on set at Pittsburgh's Real Civic Arena. Even in the arena's kitchen, there was a confrontation involving Iceberg, the team's mascot. Additionally, Van Damme's zipline stunt from the arena roof was ridiculed for being too extreme. Despite spending $35 million, the film only generated $20.4 million domestically and $64 million globally. In 1996, he made his directorial debut with the Tibet set Quest. To win the Golden Dragon statue, actual fighters from 16 different nations fought. Van Damme, however, continued to use $10,000 worth of cocaine weekly, and frequently missed work due to illness. The studio handler whose job it was to keep him in check ended up making matters worse. He returned from his trip to Hong Kong too late, missing entire days of filming. Despite numerous setbacks, the $35 million picture nonetheless managed to do well at the foreign box office. Within the context of extreme risk, in 1996, he reprised his role as a set of identical twins. The Russian mafia murders one and the other vows vengeance. There were actual risky automobile chases. One accident severely injured a stunt duplicate. The critics stated that most of the harmful things wasn't even Van Damme, despite his insistence on severe realism. There was a highly publicized fight scene in the film, in which he fought while wearing nothing but a towel. The daring antics drained the $15 million budget. He was paired with Dennis Rodman in 1997 on Double Team. However, Van Damme's actions were starting to become more erratic. His undiagnosed bipolar disease caused him to experience extreme mood swings, often in the span of a single day. Director Twee Hark's erratic moods necessitated frequent scene changes. The more steady one turned out to be Rodman, who had never been in an acting role before. The plot was secondary to the completion of the $30 million film. The next year, in 1998, he starred as a fashion designer entangled in a conspiracy involving exploding pants and knockoff. Finally, Van Damme received a diagnosis of bipolar disorder that same year. He sang crazy Hong Kong songs and acted kooky during his performance. He continued filming even as he attempted to complete his rehabilitation. The director had to adapt to his erratic mood swings, which would frequently halt filming altogether. What happened in Van Damme's real life was reflected in the film's crazy plot about terrorists in the fashion industry. Another 1998 release that drew inspiration from Van Damme's desire to join the French Foreign Legion was Legionnaire, when he was prostrated at a Manhattan strip club that February. Nevertheless, his reputation took a major hit. While using the restroom, he insulted Chuck Zito, who had a history as a boxer and Hell's Angel. Zito stormed over to his table after hearing Van Damme's words and smacked him so hard that he rolled across the floor. As onlookers did nothing, the beating persisted. It was already embarrassing enough when Legionnaire bombed at the box office. A call that could have sealed Jean-Claude Van Damme's fate came to him in 1995. He was offered $36 million by Universal Pictures for a trilogy, with $12 million going to each film. With its recent global success, Timecop has amassed over $100 million. Van Damme refused to sign because, like Jim Carrey, he wanted $20 million every film. Though he claimed, "Everything I touched turned into money." The person on the other end did not offer him a counteroffer. It was a good chuckle. After a good chuckle, they ended the call. His career as an A-list star came to an end in that one moment. He was making $75,000 for a death warrant just 5 years ago. 1990. He was making $8 million from Street Fighter by 1994. His name was immediately put on the blacklist after the $20 million gamble. Even that year, behind the scenes at the Street Fighter set, things were starting to fall apart. Using about 10 grams of cocaine daily, Van Damme was completely dependent on the drug. The cost to him was over $500,000 per year, or $10,000 per week. Because he needed his fix to function, he would vanish from set and miss entire filming days. He was assigned a handler by the studio, but that individual exacerbated the situation by bringing champagne to the set and joining him in his parties. He began experiencing hallucinations in 1996 while filming of Double Team. He entered treatment, yet he was able to leave after only 7 days sober. He couldn't do anything at all. The Hollywood elite started referring to him as Jean-Claude Van Damme. Everything fell apart in 1998. Physicians determined that he suffered from bipolar disorder, with fast cycles after he attempted suicide. Over the years, he had been alternating between episodes of extreme mania and depression. It was crystal clear now. He exhibited a high level of creativity and aggression during his manic episodes. As a form of self-medication, he would resort to cocaine and lash out, demanding exorbitant compensation. His erratic mood swings were a constant source of stress for his wife, Gladys Portuguese. He sought help after his suicide attempt. He began taking medication to calm his mood and eventually discussed the topic publicly on Oprah in 2007. However, his career was already in ruins. He was embroiled in yet another controversy in 1994 while filming Street Fighter in Thailand. He began an affair with Kylie Minogue while married to Darcy Lepier. Sweet kiss, beautiful lovemaking was the description he used to describe it in an interview with The Guardian over 2 decades later. If he hadn't had an affair, he claimed, it would be unusual. What a stunning woman. It was made worse by the chronology. It was either during his engagement to Lapierre or just after their marriage that he cheated. They divorced in 1999, and the affair was a factor. Van Damme would frequently just walk out of the room when questioned about it in subsequent interviews. Then came the fateful night that permanently damaged his reputation as an action hero. He insulted Hell's Angels president Chuck Zito at Manhattan's Scores strip club on February 5, 1998. While in the restroom with Mickey Rourke, Van Damme made an arrogant remark about how Zito lacked heart. Zito heard the news. Going up to Van Damme's table, he inquired as to whether or not Van Damme had indeed stated it. Van Damme agreed. Zito wasted no time. He used a right-left combo to knock him down cold. As he fell off his chair, Van Damme slammed his foot on the floor. Until security intervened, Zito persisted in striking. Zito exclaimed, "This ain't the movies, this is the street, and I own the street." The tale went viral, damaging Van Damme's tough man character as he lay unconscious. Publishers and Hollywood took notice. Straight to video. Desert Heat went in 1999. Only 11,000 people voted for it, but it nevertheless managed a 5.210 on IMDb. The signal had been sent. The name Van Damme had faded from the movie theaters. A direct-to-DVD actor he was now. His poisonous combination of cocaine, legal issues, mistakes, and never-ending retakes saw him banished from Hollywood. Additionally, that same year saw the release of the disastrous Universal Soldier, The Return. Production costs for the film came to $45 million, yet it only made $10.7 million globally. In terms of revenue, foreign sales only amounted to $270,000. Opening weekend earnings per theater were a meager $2,800. The original made $95 million, while Dice's sequel only managed $11 million. In terms of total earnings at the box office, it was rated 5,289th. Something new was his attempt in 2008, I Was Raw and Self-Aware JCVD. In the midst of a real custody battle and financial troubles, he portrayed a shattered version of himself who was involved in a staged heist. He confesses everything in an 8-minute monologue while sobbing uncontrollably. Drugs, shaky marriages, and terrible films. The reviewers were crazy about it. Unfortunately, viewers weren't interested. Witnessing their action hero's tears made people feel uneasy. It bombed, despite being one of his finest performances. He was given a second opportunity at stardom in 2012's The Expendables 2. He attempted to join Fast and Furious, but Vin Diesel rejected him. He played the villain, Jean-Villain. In 2023, Van Damme disclosed that Diesel had stated, "No, I don't want him." Despite his outstanding performance in Expendables 2, his character was ultimately killed off. Claude Villain, Stallone's twin brother, was teased for a possible return, but the actor never appeared. Van Damme went on to argue that Hollywood was no longer accepting of men like him, drawing a comparison between himself and a manual gearbox in a world where Teslas were the norm. Then, the worst moment so far arrived in April 2025. He was indicted by Romanian prosecutors for alleged involvement in a trafficking scandal. It is reported that in 2015, during a Canis event, Van Damme took 5 women who had been trafficked by the Romanian mafia leader Morel Bolia. According to eyewitnesses, Van Damme was given the women at a hotel party after they were abducted from a fashion TV group. According to one attorney, the women displayed obvious symptoms of exploitation. The claims were deemed ludicrous by Van Damme's agent, but the probe remained ongoing and the consequences were substantial. However, he remained. His 2011 voice role in Kung Fu Panda 2 was that of Master Croc. The 2022 film Minions: The Rise of Gru included his voice acting as young Claude. He began to focus on voice parts that did not call for the same level of physical exertion. He was able to maintain stability for these endeavors with the support of medication and daily workouts. He found solace in martial arts. He posted fitness advice on YouTube and trained daily to control his bipolar disease. Train with Van Damme, which he debuted in April 2020, demonstrated at-home exercises using common household objects as resistance. His 2016 Amazon self-parody, Jean-Claude Van Damme, featured him. As a double agent and a washed-up actor, he portrayed himself. The show made light of his ego, habits, and damaged reputation. Fans got to see a lighter side of Van Damme, one that could poke fun at his own legacy in those brief 6 episodes. Darkness of Man, released in 2024, marked his reappearance. His character was an ex-Interpol agent who fought to keep a kid safe from gangs. Having his real-life son co-star gave the part more dimension emotionally. The movie had its May premiere and December release on Netflix. It revealed an older, more subdued Van Damme who was still striving for redemption. Relapse did not occur. Reportedly, he finally beat his addiction in 1998 when he committed himself to therapy.